stay. Hello everyone, the Duke here, and today I'll be talking about the WideWheel Pro. It's an electric scooter, or dual motor electric scooter from WideWheel, or Mercane, I guess. I got this for $600. It just popped up in my area and I jumped on it immediately. The scooter usually retails for about $1,200, and I wanted to get a dual motor scooter after I tried the Frigo, which, funny thing enough, that electric scooter disappeared after I made that video. You cannot find it on its website anywhere, so it's a little sus there. But I've wanted a dual motor ever since, and this popped up, and I am super happy with it. Though there are a few things to talk about. Now, as for some specs, this has a rated range of 30 miles an hour, rated top speed of 26 miles per hour. It has a nice little key system right here, which you turn on, and it might not show it, but the display, it's very nice. You can see it like even when the sun's out. You got two modes. You got your Eco and your Pro mode and your Light. And something nice is that it doesn't make a audible beeping noise. Too many scooters do that, and it's really irritating. And the light's actually pretty decent. And for the tail light, you've got this one right here, and it's nice because, okay, I'll explain this area right here. It's nice because these LEDs actually point upwards, so cars and people behind you can actually see them, because too many LED scooters make them point down or straight, and cars and stuff, they can't see them. It doesn't work. But here's your accelerator right here, which is a thumb throttle. And this thing is not a push start. See, I just pressed on it and it goes, although, like, see that? There's a delay to it, which can be a little weird to get used to, but I mean, it's not my favorite, it's just something to note. Now, also because I bought this used, the brakes are shot on it. Like, let me see. Well, the rear brake works good, but the front brake, I'm squeezing this all the way. I'm able to push it. Although that actually brings up a point or a problem with the scooter, is for it being $1,200, it only has mechanical brakes. These aren't even hydraulic, and there's no e-brake. I couldn't find anything on their website about it, which is really disappointing because, I mean, the Highboy has e-braking, and that helps significantly. Plus it's got, you know, you can charge your battery a little bit whenever you press it. But for this not to have e-braking or any sort of assisted braking at all, and to be so powerful because it's two 500-watt motors, that's unacceptable to me. And I know you can, I think, upgrade it on a lot of scooters, but for $1,200 new and it not to have that, unacceptable to me. The bell right here, kind of lame, honestly. Although, one of the things you're gonna notice immediately is how freaking wider with 3 C's these tires are. I mean, this is your normal Highboy S2 Pro, and you can just see how much wider they are. Although, actually a little weird, the Highboy is taller. Like, you can just see it's a couple inches taller, which I'm not a big fan of, because on the Highboy I'm able to stand up straight, no issues at all. But with this one, I kind of got to bend down on it for 2 reasons. Because, well, it's not tall enough, and also this thing has a ton of torque, and because it's a little delayed, you kind of like go woo, and you got to be prepared for that. I wish it was a little taller, but I mean, it is what it is. And speaking of the handle, or not the handle, the stem, this locking mechanism I'm not the biggest fan of, because it's a twist one. You basically twist it to tighten it, and, you know, do this to untighten it, and then you can fold it down. It does not hook. All you do, you just tighten it once it's down there. And I don't really like this because it just doesn't feel that secure, and I find myself always checking it, and it doesn't really come loose unless you're riding it a long time over bumpy terrain. But I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of this locking one, although this one just feels a lot safer because, I mean, it just clicks in, while this one you gotta twist in. Now, as for length, the Highboy is actually a little bit longer, although the deck is basically the same size. Although, something to note is that you gotta be careful if you are used to push start scooters like this one, launching off of this one, because what happened is I would put this foot here, one foot on there, and, you know, I accelerate off, and this part would just hit my ankle right here over and over, and I wasn't able to get used to it, because you see this one is straight back, but this is wider on the end, and you gotta be careful about that. Now, in comparison the WideWheel to, let's say, the Highboy, because both of these have solid tires, this thing is so much more comfortable, and that's for 2 reasons. Well, firstly, this wide wheel, it absorbs the blows in the roads perfectly. I think it's actually a 8-inch tire rather than a 10-inch, or maybe it is, I don't know. It looks slightly smaller than the Highboys, But because it's so wide, one thing about this is that if you go over a pothole that would normally kind of jostle this thing a lot, or the highboy a lot, the WideWheel is able to go over it just fine because of literally how much surface area you have. Also a lot more torque because, I mean, look how freaking wide these wheels are. And I think it's called dual arm suspension right here. These things are super nice and it just makes a really comfortable ride. You never feel like there's a jump bump that's too big. It just goes over everything and it's great. Now, the dual motor I really wanted to get was the Varla Pegasus. And it was actually very similar to this one because originally it had an 8-inch wide tire like it and it also had e-braking. But the thing is that it never, I mean, okay, this was $600 and it was local. And that Varla Pegasus, the cheapest I've ever seen it is $1,050, and that's, you know, you have to order it. And so, you know, for this, because I bought it used and it was local, I think it's way better, and I'm honestly gonna keep this. It's scratching that itch for dual motors that I've had for so long. But, you know, in comparing it to the Varla Pegasus, honestly, I feel like I would prefer the Pegasus over that just because it has e-braking. A lot of people have mentioned that it's kind of unacceptable that a lot of scooters, especially high-end scooters, only have disc braking or mechanical braking. There's no hydraulics or e-braking at all. And again, that's kind of a big thing I have with this, even though I'm not able to really effectively test the braking because my brake pads are shot. For me though, I'm very pleased with it. I think it's a great product. I really like the WideWheel. It's a little weird turning on it because you can't do two super sharp turns. You gotta take wide ones, you know, hence the name. But the comfort and just the sense, also the speed of this thing. Speed is great on it. Acceleration, it's able to go up my driveway, which is probably, I don't know, it's not 40, 50 degrees. I don't exactly know how degrees work, but it's extremely difficult. The Highboy can't do it. The Frigo could do it, but I mean, that thing was a piece of garbage compared to this because this just feels so much more premium and I just really like it. Now, I can't get the handles to fold in for some reason. I think there's some grit in there. Again, this is used, but these handles are able to fold in for easier transportation. Although, I mean, this thing's it's just large. It's the size of it, you know, the wheels, of course. It takes up a lot of space in the trunk of your car. And if you're trying to haul a couple scooters like this in the Highboy, it pretty much takes up the whole space. You'd be surprised. Overall, I'm very pleased with this scooter, and if we're taking it from a new price perspective, I think it would be something decent to check out. Although personally, I would prefer the Varla Pegasus because that's the one I've always wanted. That's the one I've always heard so much good stuff about, even though they got rid of the wide wheels and they made it where it's only 9-inch pneumatics and the WideWheel version is only available in Canada. It's kind of weird. I hope you enjoyed the video, and this has been the Duke signing off. I just love saying WideWheel.